All right, welcome back to coding. So today we want to pick up where we left off last time with this file we've got in fairly simple shape. Today we're going to add some more styling, do a few things to it. It may take more than one video just because I don't want to make each one too long so they're easier to upload. So let's just take a look at where it is right now. We should have a file that looks like this. We've got some styling, we've got our text in there, we've got it all formatted. It should be responsive, meaning it resizes with the browser window. And so now we want to make some changes to it. So what we want to do first is we want to create a separate document for our styles. So instead of having them in the in between the style tags in the head of our document, we're going to take the style sheet and put it into its own file. We do this because often we want to use the same style sheet for multiple web pages. So instead of having all this stuff in several different places, so if we want to make a change, we have to find it in lots of files potentially. We want to have a single style sheet that links to each one of the HTML documents. It'll make it much easier to update and change our website. So we'll do that first. So within brackets, we want to go under View, and you can do a vertical or a horizontal split. Either one's fine. I'm going to do horizontal just for now. And what that does is it creates a second panel in brackets showing me another file. So this is my HTML file. I'm going to make a style sheet in this panel. If you did vertical, it would be over here, but same idea. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I'm in this panel. It has focus, and I'm going to do a new file. And it's showing me my new file. It's expecting me to type, but to make sure that it color codes things correctly, we're going to go ahead and save our file, because it's the suffix, the .html, the dot, in this case CSS, on the end of the file that tells brackets what kind of file it is. So we're going to go ahead and save it. And I'm going to save it into my root folder. Notice my root folder has some things in it. It has a bug big PNG and a bug small PNG. Those are posted on D2L in a zip. You should download those, unstuff the zip, and put those two files into your root web folder. There's a bug JPEG in here. You don't need that. I did a JPEG first, but for various reasons I use PNG. You also don't have a Kafka version 4 folder. Version 3, HTML is the one we're looking at. The pix.zip is simply the archive of these two files that I uploaded, and don't worry about sticky HTML. So I'm going to save this as style.css. So brackets will know that it is now a CSS file. Nothing really changes here except my file name shows up. And what I want to do is take the style part of my HTML. Oops, goes too fast. And so I've highlighted just the style stuff. So from the start tag style down to the end style tag, I'm going to use keyboard shortcut or edit cut, Command X, but again by now we should be using these keyboard shortcuts. And I'm going to click, so focus is in the bottom panel, and I'm going to paste, Command V. And there it is. So now it's no longer part of my HTML document. It's in a separate document called style.css. However, in CSS we don't use HTML tags, so we want to delete. So I hit the delete key and also the end style tag. Those are HTML tags, and we don't want those in our CSS file. Alright, so I've made changes to that. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And now what I need to do is tell the HTML file about where we put the styles. If I preview it now, you can see it's back to default settings for everything. the headings, the paragraphs, everything's back to its default settings. Get rid of that. So we want to go into the head of our document, and we're going to create a link. So it's a link tag, and the link tag is going to tell it to essentially go get the style sheet and insert it here. So it's kind of like it's in the file, but we're just going to link to it as we do like with images and other things. So it wants a few properties. We're going to say href, which is short for hyperreference, and it wants to know what we want to link to. We want to link to style.css. It also wants to know the type of file that is. We're going to tell it it's text.css, and it also wants to know the relationship, rel equal, and again it's a style sheet. Okay, so link, I give it, notice there's no commas in here, just href equal style.css, the name of my style sheet. If you named it something else, you would need to use that name, but it does need the .css at the end. If you put an S on styles, don't make it exactly the same. Type, text.css, rel, relationship equals style sheet. I save that, and then we preview it. All right, so now it's exactly the same file as we saw before. The only difference is our style sheet is now a separate document. So when we go to make changes to our style sheet, we're going to work in the styles panel. When we make changes to the HTML, we're going to make changes to the head of the document. So for this step, make those changes to your document. Make sure your style sheet works and links properly to the HTML document. So we want to make sure we save everything. If you're working in brackets and you've got several files open and you want to make sure that you've saved everything, there's a File Save All button. Also, when you're working on files in brackets, up at the top next to your file name, if you see that little dot, it means that you have changes in the document that have not been saved. That also shows up over here, does it? No, it shows up there. Yes. Scroll off of that. So that little dot up here means that there's unsaved changes. Once I save it, save all, that dot goes away in both places, and that's good. That means we've saved everything. So when you have several files, make sure it'll always show up. If you have unsaved changes and you preview it, you may not be viewing the latest saved or unsaved version of your file. It's a common mistake or just oversight that we do in web files. All right, so do this stage, and then we're going to make some more changes to our file in the next tutorial. We're going to add more styles to it, and we're going to insert our images. So, to be continued.